guys! So, a few weeks ago, I started a journey to draw more and post all my art on YouTube. Well, maybe not all. In my previous video, I did a watercolor painting of a little boy in the woods, and it turned out pretty great. So, riding on that satisfaction, I decided to paint again, and this time using gouache, which I've only used once before. But I figured, no worries, it's gonna look great. But it really didn't go so well. No worries, I recorded the entire thing. So let's go through it. But before that, I wanted to start this video on a positive note by sharing a poem that I really like. This poem is called Not by Erin Hansen. You're not your age, nor the size of the clothes you wear. You're not a weight or the color of your hair. You're not your name or the dimples in your cheeks. You're all the books you've read and all the words you speak. You are your croaky morning voice and the smiles you try to hide. You're the sweetness in your laughter and every tear you've cried. You're the songs you sing so loudly when you know you're all alone. You're the places that you've been to and the one that you call home. You're the thing that you believe in and the people that you love. You're the photos in your bedroom and the future you dream of. You're made of so much beauty, but it seems that you forgot when you decided that you were defined by all the things that you are not. So I discovered this poem maybe 5 years ago on social media, and I loved it. I really felt like it spoke to me. So when I was sitting down a few weeks ago to think about what I'm going to create for my next video, this poem came back to my mind. I had to search it to read it again and remember the words, and then I tried to think about what this poem meant to me and how I could depict it in an art piece. So, in truth, this art piece that I'm creating here was inspired by the poem. I started my brainstorming by going straight to Pinterest for reference and inspiration. I started by typing in self love because I felt like the theme of the poem was about self love and accepting yourself. And while just scrolling on pictures, this idea came to me about a girl looking in a pond and just being in her own natural state. I also had other ideas, like maybe a girl looking in the mirror, and maybe the angle would be from behind her. And I feel like I might do a piece like that. But in the end, I decided to stick with the idea of a girl looking in a pond of water. Because as much as I love the idea, I love water a lot. I love art pieces with water. It could be a drop of water, a river, under the water, over the water, the sea, but rivers and springs and those little creeks, I really love them. And I really like to incorporate them in my art pieces as much as possible because it creates this sense of peace, and I don't know, I just crave that. So that's what I stuck with, and I started to get more specific in my searches on Pinterest. And when I say specific, I mean I started searching water, pond, lake, swamp, and then I came up with the idea of the frog. I searched trees, vegetation at swamps, and of course the girl and her posture. Now, let me tell you, I struggled a lot with her posture. I had to go on different websites searching in girl stooping, and I wasn't really getting what I wanted, but eventually I got something a bit like it. And also, I had to take a picture of myself stooping to get it perfect in the angle I wanted. Sometimes I have to do that. So, I have to admit, when I finished my first sketch of what I think I wanted, I wasn't really satisfied with it. I felt like it lacked detail and it just was not an inspiring piece to look at. I felt like the finish would look too simple. I don't know, I wasn't very satisfied with it. So I decided to sleep on it. Unfortunately, the next day, I didn't wake up with any much more inspiration. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. Maybe it'll look really great. Maybe simply is better. Who knows? So I began by doing the outline and putting in the sketch. But have you noticed that after all that sketch and putting in the paint, that the paint covered the sketch and I can't see it anymore? Well, that's one thing I realized with gouache. It's really opaque. unlike watercolor, where you can really see through anything that you draw. Like if I use pen and I use watercolor on top of it, I can still see my outline. Well, I think I already knew this with gouache because I've used it once before, but I did not really remember. It was a long time ago and it was an experiment. I don't know why I thought I could have done this without watching a tutorial. Maybe it's pride, maybe I'm just too full of myself, or maybe it was just confidence. I don't know, but I definitely learned through experience a bit, and that is next time I'll do tutorial. But enough of my ranting. Let me actually talk about what's happening here. Now, if you can't tell, and I'm not gonna take it for granted, but that blue green thing that you see me painting, oh, I'm sorry, blue green is teal. That teal thing that you see me painting is supposed to be the pond, and I'm working really hard on it. I mean, I wanted to just get it right because for me, it was the main point of the piece. It had to be the focal point. Yes, the girl was the focal point, but for me, it was the water. I was doing it for the water. Now, I saw many different pictures on Pinterest of beaches and ponds, and it had this thing where the water wasn't the same color. You had these dark areas, and then these light areas, and then these undertones. It was a mixture of colors, but they didn't mix, they were just all over the place, but somehow it came together and created water. So, I was trying to recreate that, not necessarily word for word or paint for paint, but trying to create my own version of a pond, but understanding the concept of how water is painted. But clearly, I didn't understand it, but I was really trying, and I was hoping that maybe when the paint dried, it would somehow look like it, or maybe when I squinted my eyes, it would sort of start to look like water. I know from experience that the beginning of something is usually the worst part, especially with painting. It has that rough time in the beginning, that time when it looks really ugly, and I was hoping that this was my ugly era, where after a while it would all come together. But it wasn't coming together. So, against my better judgment, I decided to leave that pond alone for a while and move on to something that I felt like was a bit easier, which was the vines that I was envisioning in my mind. I was envisioning some light green, almost like magical light leaves falling down, in that picture. And I just wanted to create it. And I have to tell you, when I started painting it and I saw it coming together, I felt really good about it. I said, something beautiful in my picture other than the trees and the bush. It's starting to look a bit better. I was a bit worried though that I had too much bright green. I didn't think through my colors before, but I was hoping for it to be more of a blue painting than such a green painting, if you know what I mean. I really should focus on color theory more. I don't focus on color theory enough. I guess I should put that down as something I should work on. Yeah. But that's enough from me for a while. Let's just sit back and see what I do next. Oops, sorry. I should add that if you notice, I am painting a bush in the background, and somehow I didn't notice that I should have maybe made the bush continue to the right of the painting behind the tree, since it probably would show behind the tree on the right. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but don't worry, I'll realize eventually. And this is when I finally got around to painting the other side of the bush. Finally. Good job, Julia. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I was really stressed out about the pond. It didn't look like a pond to me. It didn't even look like a swamp. It looked nothing like water. I was so sad about it. So I said, alright, what do I have to lose? I'm gonna try and fix it. And when I say fix it, I mean redo it entirely. Even though I had so much things in the foreground. But I felt like I just had to try it. It wasn't all or nothing bit. And I'm gonna tell you something, I didn't regret it. I think it was the best thing I did. When I started seeing it like this, I was so happy. It already looked so much better. It looked calm, and I don't know why I was trying to create this rough textured sea for a pond that's supposed to be calm. But I felt like I kind of fixed it. Kinda. It looks good. And then when I started adding the shadows in the water, showing the bottom of like the land and the stones, I just felt like it gave the water this transparent look, which really pulled it off really well. For me, anyway. And I really liked that. So kudos for me for saving something that was pretty bad. Now, would you believe me if I told you that I didn't remember that there was supposed to be a butterfly that the girl was looking at? Yeah, I didn't remember because I had painted over it. I didn't remember it was supposed to be there, but don't worry, I remembered eventually. I remembered at last. I'm just gonna say that while doing this, especially coming to the end of it, while I was relieved, I kind of wanted it to be over. I spent so much time working on this, and the sad part was it didn't look how I wanted it to look. At some point, I didn't even know what I wanted it to look like anymore. You see, I had this vision of a magical pond, and the girl was discovering herself, or not really discovering herself, but being in her own element. And I just didn't like any of my piece. I sort of liked the pond. I mean, I feel really proud of it because of where it's coming from, and you know where it's coming from. But at the same time, it just wasn't fitting the mold that I had, the idea that I had, this image that I had in my mind. It didn't depict it at all, even the colors. The painting came out more green than ever, and I had more of a blue color palette in mind, and I don't know what happened. I just wasn't thinking about my palette once I started. And just like that, guys, we're at the end. This is the final piece, the final look. So, what are your thoughts? Well, I have a few thoughts of my own, and they're sort of like lessons learned. So, here we go. Number one, gouache is opaque. Yes, so maybe next time I shouldn't put all my important outlines down and then paint over them. They will disappear, and then I won't have any reference left. So, I should keep that in mind next time. Number two, water is hard to paint. I mean, really hard. But when done right, it can look really great. Number three, be more intentional about the color choice. I had an intention to create this blue, pink, girly color theme palette. I even had it in my Pinterest board, but it just came out so green, and that's because I had so much vegetation. I was just painting the green vegetation as green because that's what I know. But maybe I should have planned beforehand that if I'm gonna put vegetation, I should give it a tint, like a pink tint, a blue tint, or go with the flow, be more imaginative, but not just let it happen by coincidence. I should have been more intentional about it. Number 4, watch a tutorial. Yes, I'm sure I probably would have learned all of these things before if I had just watched a tutorial. If it was even 10 minutes, I would have learned something, and I would have saved myself some of this trouble. And number 5, take frequent breaks. Yes, I did not take much breaks. I was painting from maybe 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a lunch break in the middle, but it was not frequent. And by the next day, I was dreading painting because it was so tiring and it was so emotional, and I was feeling so bad about it. I wasn't really having any fun. I should have stopped some more to just shake it off, listen to a song, sing karaoke, anything, but just get my mind off of it. It would have done so much for me, and I would have been so much more energetic in the latter days. And before I end, here are some good points, apart from lessons learned. Number 1, I learned discipline and persistence, which is not something I display very often. Kudos to me. And finally, I overcame my fear of producing a bad artwork. Well, sort of. That's it from me, guys. If you liked this video, let me know by leaving a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my art pieces, whether they're good or bad, and you're just here for the journey, then subscribe. Until next time, bye!